Space, the final frontier.
Blue skies smiling at me, nothing but blue skies do I see. Never saw the sun shining so bright, never saw things going so right.
Let's see what's out there. Engage.
I say tomato, and you say tomato. I say potato, and you say potato. Yeah.
Hello and good evening. Star Trek The Next Generation, Season 1, Episode 13, Datalore is over. But we're just getting started here for this August 13th, 2024. As this episode has been over for almost 40 years. We got a great panel to break this all down, including myself, Dave Mader. A live stream here on Facebook, YouTube, and on Twitch. I'm joined by my evil brother in a Wesley Crusher sweater, no less, Jeff Mader.
Hello, brother.
Hello.
That looks really hot for summertime.
Well,
I'm in character.
he's in character. He's coming to us.
Committed.
Yes. Next, we have Adam Lore himself, Adam Woodward.
Hey guys, Jeff, have you ever worn that sweater outside of this?
Yes.
Yes. And last, we have, he hasn't been here in a couple of weeks, but he's back here for a Tuesday night appearance. I guess the X-Men are resting or on sabbatical right now. It's Dr. Davian Soong.
Show me your warrior fierceness.
Oh, I will. Growl for me.
I was here last week, actually.
That was last week, actually. This is, of course, the 13th episode of the show. Came out January 18th, 1988. Directed by Rob Bowman. Story by Rob Lewin and Morris Hurley. In this story, Data finds his evil twin named Lore. And the crystalline entity is introduced, and all kinds of things, guys. So spoilers, we'll be talking all about this, and probably very likely future episodes of Star Trek The Next Generation to come after this, because Lore is a recurring character that goes well beyond this first season. Actually was featured in Star Trek Picard Season 3, amongst some other episodes. So we'll be talking all about that. If you don't want to know, don't listen. But if you do, stay and listen. And with that all said, guys, what do we think about this episode?
Shut up, Dave.
What?
Do shut up, Dave.
Yeah.
Shut up, Wesley.
All right, I'll join in. Shut up, Dave.
I'm not Wesley.
But,
Shut up, Wesley.
I think it's
Shut
an
up, Wesley.
example of a lot of the problems with season 1 of TNG. It's a perfect example of what's wrong with TNG. Yeah, like this episode, much like many, many episodes of season 1 of TNG, is it relies on the bridge crew being inexplicably stupid, or especially inexplicably short with Wesley. Like, why is he there if you're like literally never going to listen to a word he says? Like, that just keeps coming up again and again in season 1. It's just like, really, Picard, like, this is the bridge crew of the flagship, and they're this stupid,
Right.
Like, and Lore kind of points that out in this episode.
Yes. Yeah. He finds all humans to be stupid, but and he finds Data not admirable for wanting to live amongst them. He doesn't value them too much. Like, I agree that Riker is in particular is inexplicably stupid. Even Dr. Crusher to an extent in this
Picard
episode.
for sure too.
Like when they turn when Dr. Crusher turns Data back on, but they think it's Lore. Like, how does she know it's Data? Other than
She doesn't.
Wesley
know.
told her.
Yeah, Wesley told her. Wesley is,
but she wasn't believing him until he turned him back on. But that's kind of beside. Sorry, go ahead, Jeff.
Oh, it just seems like whoever wrote these episodes, especially like the last episode and this episode too, like is writing it from the perspective of Wesley. You know, it's like, I remember when I was a 15-year-old boy and I was told no all the time, but I was actually right. You know, like that's kind of how it, like the perspective of like how it's written. And which I agree with Davan. Like that is kind of the problem with like the way the story goes. It kind of makes Wesley the main character, which is kind of strange. Like, why? Why is he so important? And then the next thing is, the one thing I really noticed throughout the episode is that, like, was it the same guy who did the music for like A Few Good Men do the music for this episode? Because
I noticed the music.
The same.
The music is pretty active. Yeah, like it's quite the score. Although I don't. Well, there's suspense in there. There's kind of some whimsical nature to it. Norman pointing out that the 80s trope where the kid knows everything and the adults are stupid or closed-minded, like in most Spielberg movies. This is still supposed to be the best crew of the fleet.
But they're just so stupid and so closed-minded in this first season. And like watching this first season, I feel like there's like just a couple of things that got them that second season. And one is in this episode, and it's like the acting chops and charisma of Brent Spiner. He got to show off a bit in this one, and this is the first one where Data sort of stops being kind of stupid as well.
Yeah, like I don't know if I feel I feel like you feel more strongly about them being dumb or stupid than I do. Like I think that there are some like questionable things on the count of some of these characters at times, but it doesn't bother me like it did in Enterprise. I'll tell you that much.
Well, they had a reason to be stupid, or at least,
but they didn't. But they didn't. If I can just jump in, because Dave, I think I told you a couple of weeks ago when we were doing this, is I've avoided season one, like when I do my own rewatches, because I thought I hated it. Mm-hmm. And I'm quite enjoying this rewatch right now because it's like I haven't done this for a very long time. And when you consider that Next Gen was the first show after a very long break between the original series and anything, like this is 88.
January.
They've been doing movies.
Sure. But 20 years had passed, right, since TV. I mean, they've done now how many episodes? What are we on here? 13? So, 13. Yeah. And number one, that's the first point. I think that they had their break, and now it's time to get back into it. And Dave, you just made a point about Enterprise. Enterprise followed how many other shows? Voyager, Deep Space, Enterprise.
Yeah, three directly before it. And then
so they had a pretty good cadence going at that point, to get started well, and they didn't get started well in Enterprise. No. So
some of those plots, like I wouldn't say that like those ones bothered me more than like I think like the stuff that you could nitpick with these ones, where some of the characters are kind of dumb. But
and I think that the end of Star Trek Next Gen, well, not the end. I mean, season 4 on became so strong. When you go back and compare, man, you're going like night and day. And I get it, like that. Even the uniforms look stupid. Like Picard looks like so small in this uniform, right?
They look a little tight, I would say.
Yeah.
Of all the shows, when you go back and watch them, it took this crew, and it's probably because of the break you're talking about, maybe, or the pressures with that, but it took this crew the longest to get their characters down. Like in the other series, most of the characters and actors have their characters down within like a couple of episodes, and it doesn't change a whole lot. It takes on some of these characters like 2-3 seasons to kind of figure out who they are.
Well, who would you say that would include?
Season 1, everyone. Data starts to act like Data in this episode. By the end. The one thing that saves this episode is the last 5 minutes. The last 5 minutes are really good.
But he is so good in this episode.
Yeah.
I would agree with that. And Dave, just one more point is, they're finding their way here, and I'll admit, like watching this live as a grade 10 or 11, whenever I was then, I didn't. It took me a long time to get into Next Gen because I was so conditioned, watched the original series so much growing up. And, I don't remember when I started, but I never gave up on it. I just never, I remember not thinking it was great when it started.
It
Right.
wasn't.
Well, I don't know if anyone hates this first season more than Davan. I'm pretty convinced because I don't think it's that bad, dude. Like it's
Well,
it's
they're not the characters we love. Like
Picard is.
No, he's
But
not.
he sucks.
Yeah, I agree with Adam. He's not.
He's not.
Because
He's quite unlikable in this first season most of the time. The big goodbye, he loosens up a bit.
He's not his what's the word? Inquisitive judgment, curious before
he's
judgment.
Closed-minded.
Yes, he's not.
No, he's not.
Oh, I believe he's definitely got that.
In this very episode, like Data says, like, "Hey, why are you referring to Laura as it? Why are you saying, instead of he, like, are you putting me in the category of things?" Like, I apologize.
Yeah, but he would never have done that in later seasons ever. He wouldn't even.
But he was
Or
open-minded.
shut down Wesley like that. Like,
he did shut down
Wesley's just like, hey, maybe Data's lore. He's like, what? You're a child. That's ridiculous to even.
Wesley is annoying. Come on.
No, but his point was absolutely spot on.
Yes, but he is annoying. And then, like earlier in the episode, when he was like, what, we shouldn't be weird about, Data being a machine. We're just a different kind of machine. I disagree completely. I think that the stuff with Picard is pretty much there from even Encounter at Farpoint. And even Data, who does
a dick.
He's always a dick. Sorry.
No, I don't agree. He's not always like super like personable and comfortable with like casual kind of chat and whatnot, but he's not a dick and he's open-minded in these later seasons. He's so likable.
Like, outside of like kids, which are obviously his like Achilles heel,
sure.
Right? Like, I don't think that that's really quite fair. He's a little bit more like, I'm the captain in this first season, and he's a little bit more arm's length with Riker and some of the officers. But that really,
look how he put Beverly off the bridge in this episode.
I think
Beverly right off the bridge. You think he would do that in later seasons?
He's also
he
trying.
Was, like, annoying.
He's got a brand new crew of the biggest of the flagship, so he's definitely trying to assert himself too at this point. And he wants no relationships with his team. I get it, but
there's character development aspects to it as well.
Right.
Yeah, I agree.
Mm-hmm.
I agree.
He grows as a character and as a captain, I would say,
and that's good. I just think it took this crew the longest to get there, as far as who they thought their characters were.
But don't you feel like that's on purpose? Like, don't you feel like they wanted Picard to start there? Like, it wasn't like they hadn't figured him out. It was more like, no, we're gonna start him off as this like kind of like surly guy, and the crew will kind of start to like he'll start warming up to them as the seasons go on. And that's kind of what happens. Like, how many times like when they do like, oh, he doesn't go play poker with them, and then like because he keeps them at arm's length, and then that's his character. That's his base character.
Doesn't that reflect real life too? Like, didn't like Patrick Stewart kind of start off as like not getting along with the rest of them, and then eventually like he like loosened up and learned to relax more, just like Picard did in real life?
I think you could buy that if you're watching this all for the first time, but I think why it doesn't resonate that way with me through this rewatch is I've seen the later seasons way more than I've seen the first season, just like Adam. I just lost my train of thought. So Picard. Oh, so you're talking about this. We're talking about this character development aspect and how he's just grumpy and that's who he is and he changes as a person. But in all the stuff we see after that in the later seasons, all the descriptions we get from whoever knew him before never describes him that way. Like,
how did they describe
who Picard is? He is more fun. He is like more casual with people. And he isn't this like buttoned down kind of mean and closed-minded character they show him in most.
Hello, Davan, old friend.
Yeah, like everyone's he's chummy with all the old people he meets. Like people always seem to have this past personal.
Everyone seems to like him.
Well, but like in that episode,
not a professional one.
What about in the episode where he gets stabbed in the back by the Corsican guy or whatever? Like they
because he was a jerk off. Like that's what I'm saying.
He was adversarial. He was very like it wasn't like he was like making friends.
Oh, adversarial.
Yeah, but he was with his friends and he was defending them, and that's that. But
what I'm saying is there's a like I see like a baseline personality with Picard that he's kind of like an adversarial jerk in a way, Like that's kind of like you see it in First Contact too, when he loses his mind and he breaks all his ships and you know and he gets focused
into with
on,
Worf.
yeah, yes, it was Worf, right? Like that's kind of like his way of doing things, and it takes a lot for him to open up. It's kind of like Dave. I think Dave's right. Like that, I think TV writers, what they do is they meet these actors and they base the characters like very much on how the actor responds to them in conversations and interviews and all these different things, and then they write the character based off that. Like I was listening to Joe Rogan, had Adam Sandler on earlier, like yesterday or whatever. We listened to it in the truck today, and he was saying that on news radio, that's how they wrote Joe Rogan's character on news radio. They talked to him about conspiracies and all these things, and they wrote that in the character for him on news radio because that's what made sense. So I think it's the same with Picard.
Art imitating real life.
Yes.
To that point, though, is that, you know, over time, then the actor then will evolve the character and go with it. I guess unless somebody pulls them back, they just go with it.
And certainly with the TNG actors, and I think it's the case with most shows. I agree with what you're saying, Jeff, but I think that happens over time. I think as the writers get to know the actors over like a few seasons, they start to make the character more like the actor. Because like by First Contact, Deanna's just Marina Sirtis, and in Picard, she's 100% Marina Sirtis. So she went to like whatever Deanna is in season 1 TNG to just be in Marina Sirtis.
Right.
We're not quite sure where
Picard,
she's from.
and in Picard, like Picard is just Patrick Stewart for the most part. Like that's a lot of the complaints of that series is like he doesn't feel so much like Picard as much as he feels like Patrick Stewart.
Right. He had a lot more input in being able to dictate what the show could be, and yeah, like, and for better or worse, maybe worse. Yeah, like you get more
I think
of the
that's
real life
yeah.
Stewart in there.
But I do think this is the episode where Data, I think he's like maybe the first one who really gets his character down. He becomes Data in the last 5 minutes, where he becomes comfortable with his self-confidence. Like he doesn't try to tiptoe. He's just like, he sits up and he's just like, they're like, you okay? He's like okay enough to stop Lore. That's such a thing Data would say in like season 6 or 7.
You mean like the heroic aspect of Data? Is that what you mean?
Well, that, and like he's not like earlier ones. He's a little more awkward as like this, like I'm not human and stuff like that. And he would like kind of tone. He has this like way of saying I'm better than humans in certain things, but he like doesn't act that out as much. He's kind of afraid to like act that out as much. Whereas this one, and he explains it more. Whereas this one, he just like sits up and he's just like he's just like, I'm gonna go stop Lore now, and like he knows he can. He doesn't want to explain to anyone else why he knows he can. He's just Data.
Go ahead, Dad. Sorry.
It also occurred to me too is like we never got a mirror universe episode out of Next Gen, but Data, when he plays Lore, is the mirror universe Data.
Well, yeah, I think that's a good point. Okay, and that was kind of like where I wanted to ask you next. Like, what do we think about the character of Lore in general? Like, do we like this character?
Okay, well, I had a point that I wanted to make about Lore that I think, okay, watching this episode, I really like Lore and he's a great villain. Throughout the whole watch of the episode, all I kept thinking to myself was Brent Spiner would rather play Lore than he would play Data. Like that's how that's like he that is like what Brent Spiner wants to do. I feel like he feels held back having to play Data. But
chew scenery all day is Lore.
Yeah,
that's what Lore does. He just like.
I think Lore is closer to his natural personality. You know,
when you think of
what do you mean?
That other episode, and guys, I never remember the names. You know this, but where Data takes on the personification of those gods.
Masks. Oh God!
One of the best
are we talking
ever.
about masks?
I freaking love that episode.
Great episode.
But he was so good in that episode, Davan.
But also,
you know what, Adam? You and I got to be on the masks panel and have a little chat. Okay, book that, Dave.
Matt, like I just saw an interview with Brent Spiner on who's the guy who played Lex Luthor, Michael Rosenbaum, and he was like, they were like, when we did masks, and I had just come off being the lead in the previous episode, so I just like hammed it up as an actor when I was playing some of those characters, and all the other actors behind the scenes were just completely making fun of him, and we're completely. But I don't mind like that kind of overacting sometimes. Like you don't have to be like always subtle and sort of thing. But yeah, they were.
And I really like Laura B4. I liked like B4 because I hated that character.
I hated B4 as well.
Yeah, B4 sucks.
Yeah, boo B4.
I wish Lore was a bit more complex. I guess
Me too.
he's a little bit too one-dimensional of a villain for me. He's just pure malevolence most of the time, and he doesn't.
You're right, and that doesn't match his like description of himself. He's like, I'm just so human. I'm too human. He's just like, but you're not though. You're sort of one. Like you're not complex like a human.
Right.
Like you're
most
right.
well, like I guess there are villainous humans like Lore in real life.
Yeah, I mean, he's like Donald Trump, I guess. Like he's like
Kinda,
a cartoonish kind of villain.
more murderous, perhaps.
Yeah, and like smart.
That's
would have made.
Sorry, Jeff. Go ahead.
Sorry, I was just gonna say it would have made more sense that if like Laura had like understood Wesley and like the way like if they had written that into this episode and like try to get like Wesley on his side or like did get Wesley on his side, that would have made more sense. Like, because it would have went to Davin's point that like what he's saying is that he's more human.
Yeah. And I agree that the episode that comes later after this, Brothers, which also has Brent Spiner playing Nooney and Soong, I think that is a better episode than this. But
but this is the first time. Like you let him get going, and I think he did. It was a very good start. The scene where you learn that Laura is collaborating with the crystalline entity, and that's when you say, "Man, this guy is evil. Like he is." Mm-hmm. Evil personified. So.
He's got to feed you right to it. And Data, who's such an innocent, good character against contrasted against Lore, who's so evil, is quite the take. And as a kid, you want to like Data because he's a hero and whatever. And then Lore is so the opposite of that. It's kind of like, oh man. Let's go through the plot of this episode. It won't take us long because it's not that complex. Quite frankly, I think the plot is maybe the weakest part. But so they're
Can I say something on the plot one sec though?
Yeah.
And it also relates to what I've been saying about season one. Is this is like a plot from like Three's Company or something. Like it's like a sitcom plot where like two people who look the same get swapped out. Like this has been in like every friggin' show of the 80s and 70s, you know what I mean?
Well,
so it's like
these episodes, like these first season episodes, do remind me of original series episodes. This one also is like an original series episode, and I know you're not a big fan of those original series episodes, so I think that's maybe why these don't work for you so well.
You're right with that. Yeah.
And like I agree, it gets better later, but like I still find value in this anyway. So they're going to stop at Data's home planet, the planet he was discovered on all those years ago. But Data's not on the bridge here. He's busy trying to sneeze, I guess, or something.
This I don't like.
Yeah. Sneezing. Chew.
Do you have a cold? What's that? It's a disease,
Have you got a cold? It's a disease my mom says people used to get.
That's another thing about season one for me. I don't like any of this Pinocchio stuff with Data, where he's just like, I'm not a real boy. Like, all that kind of stuff doesn't work for me.
Aren't you interested that we're going to your home planet?
More than interested. Fascinated. One might say agog. But I also find sneezing interesting. Chew!
I love that the cat.
That's a good Data line, though, Adam. Like, because he does find things like sneezing interesting. Like, that's kind of funny.
I also find sneezing interesting. It's kind of cute. Yeah, it's kind of cute, but and funny. But yeah, sorry. But yeah, then they go to the bridge where they're approaching the planet. It doesn't have any life signs.
Does Tasha get any lines this episode?
A couple, not much.
Oh wow,
it's a security risk.
It's a security risk.
Having lines is a security risk.
She does have a few lines. So they send Riker down. There's mostly like Tasha kind of saying like, "You were found with nothing." You're like, she's just always kind of bewildered. And anyway, that teaser is like Data's beaming down to his origins. We're going to look at Data's origins, and that's the teaser for the episode.
So here's a plot hole for me. Is like, so Data is known as the only android in Starfleet. Everybody knows who he is, but they don't seem to know too much about him.
Right. Yeah. Well, I think his backstory is still pretty vague to me. I'm still kind of like trying to piece together some parts of that, but we're told it was 26 years ago that he was discovered on this planet prior to this episode.
And who discovered him?
The U.S.S. Tripoli. Yeah, Starfleet ship found him. And so
They were
and
there to
then-
like survey the destruction.
And then they just take him back to the academy, and he goes right to the academy.
Well, no,
Seems like it.
He studied for some time, I mean, at least a couple years, and then eventually he's declared sentient, and eventually he joined Starfleet. And on all
That's
those
like
things.
12 years as a lieutenant.
Yeah, he kind of breaks it all down for us with there.
It will mean 4 years at the academy, another 3 as ensign, 10 or 12 on varied space duty in the lieutenant grades.
Yeah, etc. So he's at least been around for, I don't know, 17 years in Starfleet, probably. So there's a few of those early years.
But you remember, there's the Measure of the Man episode where he brings out all his recognition,
medals and stuff.
Yeah. So he's done some stuff, and it would be a great backstory. I'd love to know more about Data. Yeah,
there's probably books about that.
You could even do a prequel about Data. Would be kind of interesting, I think. But Brent Spiner. If it's not Brent Spiner, I don't know if I want a different actor to do it. But
no.
Wait.
Rest with Brent Spiner.
But we can have 10 Spocks.
We can have 10 Spocks and,
I'm not super
15 Kirks.
Stoked on that either.
Yeah. So we're seeing here.
I do like new Spock though.
That the planet is devoid of life. It's been all it is like dead trees and rocks and dirt, and all the farms are gone here. And they kind of come down to this rock face here, where Data says, "This is where I was found, on this flat slab here in this cave." And the first thing I remember, there was just a layer of dust on him, so he maybe had been there for a little while before being discovered. And
did you ever notice literally every planet they've ever gone to in Star Trek? The planets use stone staircases.
Yeah.
Why does nobody use wood in the?
I think they were trying to do the original series thing here, where they're trying to reuse this same planet set over and over again.
Yep.
They eventually moved away from that.
This first season's obsessed with trying to be like the original series. You can like the sets, the also, why is there who's the engineer?
Argyle.
Oh, Argyle, that guy. Okay, yeah, they show up in this episode. I'm like, what is going on? Why are they don't? But there's no engineering set.
There is. Yeah, it's there.
Oh, it's there. Okay.
Yeah. They said don't make an engine room, Gene Roddenberry. So he wrote a scene in the pilot for the engine room just so they would have to build it.
That's a good move.
So anyway, they find a secret door through Geordi's visor, and this is the other thing. This first season, they're always trying to use Geordi's visor for all kinds of things, like it's his superpower.
And then they never do.
They never really do after that, because they all have tricorders, and it's kind of silly. But they find the secret door. They come here to this the Omicron Theta colony that's of course empty. Eventually finding this laboratory, which has those things that light up, and no one knows what they do.
Looks good.
Yeah, it looks good. Very well equipped. And we see here that Data kind of remembers being in this room when he was being built. We see the pictures of the scary snowflake.
So when did they have time to take or draw these pictures? Because
I don't know. It seems like they were already being attacked and potentially dying before, but I guess they're like, "Hey kids, let's all draw. What do you think was yesterday's death massacre?"
Every kid's name started with the letter J.
Yeah, you got Josh, Jay,
John.
and John. So
Jay Gordon.
Jay Gordon.
Yeah, that part. I'm still trying to understand the series of events that from the time lore gets disassembled to when Data gets built to when this crystalline entity attacks. It's all kind of a little fuzzy for me. But anyway, so they're kind of going along. They find the mold where Data's skin was made. Obviously, fits right on his head. We can see, it's you, Data.
How long would you imagine in a 2-minute episode? Something like that?
42, 44, yeah.
And you have a main guest villain character you want to establish and then do a bunch of hijinks. How long would you imagine it would take to introduce that character in said episode?
20 minutes.
Really? Well, it does take that long, and to me that's a long time. To turn lore on, it took 18 minutes and 43 seconds. It's wow, the episode's half over and it hasn't really started yet.
Right. I thought it actually moved pretty quick, but but it depends, because this is a villain that's not alive yet. so they have to bring him back. Do you think that the fake data head looks convincing?
No.
For the 80s, it's pretty good.
Actually, when you consider what like the Terminator looked like and what was the Total Recall, like all those ones, yeah, I guess so.
It would never look. They would never use a practical thing like that today. But
No, they just use him.
Yeah,
now they would do this differently. But yeah, it's it's coming. So, don't worry, Data. We'll bring him back to the ship. Okay, all good. Then we saw
but Data also makes the point. Like, I wouldn't. We have to reactivate.
I have to know. Yeah, because Riker's like, we don't know if this could become alive. Like, turns out it can. Data's getting put together by the engineers on the ship. We see I guess the connection points here, and they don't fully even understand how Data works apparently, or his construction. So they might need to take him apart just to.
How come later on in later seasons it's always like Geordi is the expert on Data? And then
he's his best friend.
Yeah, but in this scene, where's Geordi? He's not nowhere to be found.
He's busy being the pilot.
Yeah, that's a funny thing though. They show him as having they don't hint at his engineering aptitude at all until he's the chief engineer of the flagship.
Until they're like, it makes sense to move him down here. Yeah, there was just a move here. Anyway, so Data gets called away to the briefing as Dr. Crusher is apparently very much involved in this reassembling. Anyway, back in the conference room where this is where Picard says, "You did the right thing, Riker, bringing Lore up here." And I was like, did he? Did he make the right call? I guess. So there's this awkwardness here where everyone's like, well, Data, how is it going to come alive? And everyone's getting real awkward here, and Picard has to sort of say this doesn't have to be weird.
If it feels awkward to be reminded that Data is a machine, just remember that we are merely a different variety of machine. In our case, electrochemical in nature.
Electrochemical. Riker loves that, by the way. He just gets he's like, oh, Picard, you're so open-minded and you're so progressive. He makes a great look there with him.
Season 1 Riker, and what, that probably lasts for 3 seasons, sucks. All he does on the bridge is say, I didn't know that, or I've never heard of that. It's that's most of the shit that he does on the bridge.
He doesn't know anything.
He doesn't know anything.
He's getting there. He's learning from Picard.
It's character development. He starts off
guy with a British accent. It makes no sense.
No, I mean Riker.
Riker. Yeah. Riker doesn't know anything. No.
Yeah, Riker doesn't know anything in these seasons.
He knows about how kids draw crystalline entities. That's what he knows about. Which
he's just really good of North and South, man. He just came out of that show. He just learned the Civil War.
Yeah, he just came out of North and South. He got into a fist fight with David Carradine. Come on, there was what's going on.
Jeez, he probably got his ass kicked by David Carradine.
Who was the other guy? Oh, Patrick Swayze. Patrick Swayze and David Carradine nearly threw themselves out of a 13th floor bar when they got so hammered.
That sounds like Carradine and Swayze for sure.
Yeah, they dared each other who could fly out the window. It turns out, and then apparently
Carradine, the guy that sex asphyxiated himself.
That would be him. Yeah, Kwai Kang. Apparently Frakes had to tackle them just so they wouldn't kill themselves.
No, you still have so much to do.
You kind of smoke yourself to death. You just smoke yourself to death.
There's hop over these chairs.
Just want to talk about this part in the episode where we learn about Data's off switch. That he has it on his butt here.
If you had an off switch, would you not keep it secret?
I like that.
Secret.
It's his lower back, right?
Yeah.
It feels like it's his side of his butt.
No, it's his lower back.
Lower back. And
it's be crude.
It's yellow, so yeah, you're right. It has to be.
He's like those toys that they got the battery pack in the lower back. That's.
It's like the toys where you squeeze the arms and then they go and then something pops out. Anyway. So it's a secret between Data and Crusher for a minute. And then we see that the surgery goes on here where they're putting Lore back together using Data as a bit of a guide. I guess they need to do stuff through the abdomen section specifically to kind of see how the circuits are connected. And then they kind of seal up Lore here. And I guess what we're led to believe here is that Lore was kind of conscious for a few minutes with his eyes closed, just kind of listening to everybody, kind of like figuring it out. Because eventually Picard says, "I wonder which one of them were built first." And this is where he interjects. Oh, he was, and then they built me because I was more perfect. They needed a more perfect android. You can call me Lore.
You may call me Lore.
And that music is so ominous. He's evil.
He's villainous.
And he's got a twitch. No good guy has a twitch in their face. Everyone knows that.
That goes away. Like, I don't think they ever do that again.
No, I think I would like to believe after he fixed his face there, he never went back to it. But I don't know why it took him so long to get there. Anyway, so then there's this next conversation sometime later between Picard and Data, where Picard's like, "Are you still loyal to me, or are you loyal to him?" And he's like, "No, I'm loyal to you." He's like, and no, the whole thing is like, I see your point about not using it rather than him and everything else. Then they go to the bridge where Lore is learning all about the ship and the con.
This is a bad mistake, right? Okay, this is where I agree with you guys. Like, what the hell are they doing?
Why are they letting him do this? Even Data's a bit surprised by this. The
whole time Data's just like fascinated. He's like, there's no precautions even from Data. He's just kind of like, okay, what's going on here? Okay. Like, he doesn't have like really any like concerns, and he's like, why not? I don't
know. There's this whole part here though where Riker asks him what the square root of your forehead is or whatever. I don't know, something about piloting, and Lore kind of gives away that he knows more than he does. And then he goes, "Oh, I heard someone say that once." There's a few times where Lore gets caught in his lies, and he's like, and then he gives like these kind of bullshit like explanations that are very unconvincing, I would say.
Why is Riker doing the old like? Wait, what's this about?
Stink eye on Ward.
I think at this point Riker is suspicious of Lore, but then that suddenly goes away when he's led her to go to examine.
When he starts to act suspiciously. It's like, I was probably just being paranoid.
Yeah, I need to be more open-minded, like Picard, my hero. So
I didn't hear anything about that.
I just want to point out this next scene where like Data and Lore are walking down the corridor, and this double for Brent Spiner is clearly not Brent Spiner.
It's not even close.
That hairpiece is very off on the left there. Yeah. But I think Adam's like, come on, it's the 80s.
Oh no. Did I sound like that?
I thought that's what you were going to say.
I would say
it was what he was thinking.
Oh,
look, go back to the last shot. Look at that lady's sweater up ahead.
That's a great sweater. That's a Wesley Crusher sweater right there.
Looks like Jake Sisko too.
Yeah.
Jago.
Oh.
Jago.
All right, and then we got the famous meme here where with Lore pointing like, "Thank you," because they're talking about Wesley, and that Wesley's smarter than he looks, even though he's more capable than even though he's just a kid. And he's like, "Thank you for that information, brother." But they use this image all the time for different memes and stuff like that these days. They go to the quarters. He's like, I need to learn about Noonien Soong. He goes,
"Good old often wrong Soong."
And then he talks about that being their father, how he had developed the positronic brain and had managed to make them possible, and that they're so much better than humans is kind of implied by Lore at times in these conversations. But Lore is like, I feel like Data's always kind of onto Lore. Data kind of knows almost pretty early that Lore's a little weird. Some of the things Lore is saying are kind of off.
Yeah, but he doesn't like do anything about it.
He doesn't really report it. He says he will report it to the captain, but then I don't know. Like, they're suspicious of Lore. On the other hand, they were teaching him everything about the ship 10 seconds earlier.
It's almost like they're inexplicably stupid.
They're inexplicably stupid. I think it's the writing, really, quite frankly. But
it is. The writing in season 1 is not good. They don't make this crew seem like the flagship bridge crew at all. They're like really stupid. But yeah.
They would never treat Spock that way, where like Spock's like just dumb.
But that's
like that's the thing. That's kind of the difference.
Yeah, and like, it's just lazy writing. It's like unsophisticated writing. It's their crew has to be that way because it would be more difficult to write them smart and still have all these things happen. But
Right.
you know what? You gotta go to the next level.
Yeah, we see here Laura gets to access the computer and uses super intelligence. Much like this kind of reminds me of Space Seed and Khan and like them giving him all the technical manuals and telling him how to run the Enterprise. It's like, okay, well, just prime your new villain on the ship. With everything you need. They start learning about the crystalline entities with a combination of the drawings from the kids and what Lore explains, because Lore knows about the crystalline entity and he tells them quite a bit about it. This thing that kind of goes through the universe, consuming energy and life. And Riker goes, "Do you think that could exist?" And Picard, very again open-minded Picard, says, "Considering how big the galaxy is, it could be."
Riker's like, "What? I don't know about this.
What does this mean?
What are
you talking about?"
Then there's this whole part here where Tasha's like, "Hey, Lore went to like the lab on deck 4 and fabricated some stuff, and made some things." And he goes, "Oh, that's just like that would be like a human going to get an ointment."
Yeah.
Why does he need an ointment?
Okay, I haven't seen this episode in a long time. I thought at this point that Laura had already switched, and like in this scene, I know it's not. We find that
coming
out
up. It's coming up right after this.
But I'm like, how dumb can Data be to say something like the human anointment? That no, I'm like, this has to be Lore. That's what I thought.
Well, Data's implying like, don't be suspicious of him. Don't be racist against him just because he's an android. He could be. Just given the benefit of the doubt.
Fun fact: in the first 22 episodes of TNG, Tasha Yar and Commander Riker are in a uselessness contest.
Tasha Yar wins because they ask, because everyone's like, "What do you mean, Tasha? How can you question Data?" And then Picard goes, "That was a legitimate security question."
Yeah.
Okay, but you could have asked it in the ready room.
But she looked so proud after.
She's so happy that Picard's like, "You did good, Tasha."
Yeah, that was the most. It was actually embarrassing.
It was cringy. It was pretty cringy.
It was really cringy and embarrassing for Tasha Yar. She was like, "Yeah, right, guys, right."
I did do the right thing. Yeah. I did. You know.
And then Wesley has the exact same concern, and he's just like, "That's fucking ridiculous, Wesley."
Yeah.
I like Tasha.
Yeah, Tasha's a damn fine security officer. You're just a boy.
So here's coming up the old switcheroo here, where Lore gets Data, the not so intelligent Data, baby, with the little poison in the champagne trick. Here with what is that?
Oh,
champagne? No. Fairyland Grand Premiere. This might come up in fun facts.
Chateau Picard.
It says Sol Standard 1 liter. I don't know. So there you go. So, but get into it. Yeah, Data put in the compound. I guess he fabricated the ointment he made earlier. And then he says, "Oh, let's have a toast, brother, to finding each other and reserving human rituals." And then he's immediately like, "Brother, you have poisoned me." He's like, "I know. Aha. And thank you to the crystalline entity." And he kind of reveals, "I am evil. I am the evil android all along." Then Worf tells Riker, "Data's using the subspace communications a lot. That's weird. Wesley, why don't you go check on Data? Why don't they just call Data and ask?" But they said Wesley. And this is another cringy moment here where they send Wesley off and he's like, "Okay, Commander Riker." And then this guy who's filling in for Tasha is just like, "Isn't it cute?" I'm like, no. This is
I was like,
okay.
"What's this guy smirking about?" He's just like,
he just thinks Wesley's cute.
Okay. I was
He's a
confused
little
by
kid.
it. I'm like, what's with this smiley shot? Because it's kind of a long shot where they just focus on this guy smirking.
Yeah, they're like all the crew like young old Wesley. He's like the mascot of the bridge.
As long as he doesn't talk.
As long as he doesn't talk. Yeah, exactly.
Shut up, Wesley.
Right. We hear Lore speaking to the crystalline entity, saying like, "Hey, remember me? I'm going to totally feed you the life on the ship. But when we call, I'm going to say I'm Data, okay? Just so we're clear on that. I'll say I'm Data." Then the Twitch comes. Then Wesley shows up, sees Lore, which is actually Data, on the ground, unconscious. And he goes, "Oh, I'm glad you're here, Wesley. I had to deactivate him. He became violent." And will you please go tell the captain about this? You know, as we see the twitch going on, and Wesley's like, "Oh no," suspicious right away. Like I agree, like this should be a simple thing for Wesley to explain to the bridge crew, and they should be like, "Oh, I guess Laura's like taking assumed Data's, you know, personality and everything else." Because I agree, like their stupidity does go beyond explanation in some means here.
And even Wesley's a little bit stupid in this one. Like,
he's a bit.
Wesley in any other episode than this one would have saw that twitch and the contraction being used, and that would have been all he needed, man. He would have been like, game on.
Yeah. Data uses like the sonic screwdriver here, or sorry, I guess it's Lore. Lore uses the sonic screwdriver.
It's confusing you.
I know.
Jeez,
how can I tell
them apart on this crew?
If I could only tell their phase discriminators apart, you know, but they're inside their heads. So yeah,
so you think, I'm the perfect one. You're like, oh, twitchy face here is the perfect one.
Old twitchy, yeah, but he fixes the twitch, and then we go to the bridge here where Dr. Cross is like, what did he say? What did Data say about Laura? He's like, he just turned them off, which Dr. Crusher finds suspicious. She says, Data, which is actually Laura, you swore me to secrecy about your off switch. I have to tell the bridge crew everything. If I can't tell you guys anything, who can I trust? Then we got a bogey coming in right away. Let's see what it is, and it's the crystalline entity chasing them. Even Laura says, "Beautiful, isn't it?" Doesn't seem like, and then we get that look here for Wesley. Oh, you are Laura. Data wouldn't say that.
You wouldn't use a contraction.
And he wouldn't use the contraction too, was the other part. Yeah, because
beautiful is not it.
Right. Or going through here. So they're got the crystalline entity coming at them. I guess they just came to a stop and they eventually faced each other here.
I like the crystalline entity. I think it's a great creation. I
think it's a cool idea. Spoilers to the future episode, but that other woman destroys it in the future episode.
Dr. Marr, wasn't it?
Marr.
Yeah, who lost a son at the Omicron Theta colony. And I always wondered, like, do you think there could be more than one of these, or is this like crystalline entity one of a kind?
But it even looked good for back then. Sorry, here we go.
It does look good. It does look good. Yeah, like for the
if it's a life form, there's very few species of one.
True. So it could maybe we'll see another version of this again. But anyway, they don't know what to do. Geordi Geordi has to use his visor he's like, I was looking at it. It looked like a big snowflake, but more complex. I'm like, you can't tell that from from like their sensors.
Data.
I don't like about this scene. Everybody's standing up. It's like a lot of stuff happening in the bridge.
Yeah.
Sit down, someone.
Yeah, everyone sit down. Those chairs are quite relaxing. They're recliners. And this is where Wesley calls out Data, or Lore, and says he's not. And he says, "Shut up, Wesley. You can't see these things about. I wouldn't go anywhere with him." Riker goes, "I'm sorry, sir. I haven't trained him well. Let's go. Yeah. We're gonna go. So Lore.
This is painful to watch.
Lore, yeah, it is. Lore, Wesley, and Riker go down to find Data, now unconscious. He's like, see the facial twitch, and then we see here Lore is turning Data on and off over and over again to kind of create this like twitching effect. And he's like, you have to get out of here.
Different spot than they've been doing it all along. Now he's just jabbing him in the spine.
Yeah. He's like, I'm sorry, my brother's a little crazy. Like this brother he's known for like a day. I don't know. It's I don't know. Riker just, he's inexplicably stupid in this moment, especially. And they're like, okay, let's get out of here. And then Lore then kicks Data in the head a couple times afterwards.
Like, didn't that look like a marionette, Commander? I've never heard of marionettes.
Whoever. Yeah, that's not a thing. Even breaks open Data's head here a little bit. Made him bleed. The malevolence here of Lore. And then
isn't that a painful scene to watch? Sorry to interrupt you there, but like he's just like, he senses you're near. You have to leave. Like it's just like what?
What?
What? This is like
and even the way that Riker explains this to Picard on the bridge, he's like, "Yeah, he had the twitch, and he was like sensing me or something," and like Picard's like, "What?" You know, and then Wesley's like, or was like Lore just pretending and doing all this thing. He's like, I wasn't asking for you, boy. I was asking for Riker's report. You know, this is the
Shut up, Wesley.
Looks at Riker. You're lucky. You're what do they call those? Your personnel file. Lucky your personnel file came with a picture there, Commander Handsome. You're not doing anything else around here.
Exactly. As the crystalline entity starts attacking them, their shields are holding though, protecting them from the crystalline entity. I don't think I missed the part here where. Lore shows up. So let me talk to it. He's like, you didn't tell me you could talk to this data. Open the hailing frequencies, and I don't know. Picard just goes with a lot of it. Like we see, like Picard just wants to do whatever Data tells him to do half the time, or whatever his recommendation.
I think it's clear, Dave, that Picard really doesn't respect anyone on his crew except Data. That's kind of the way he like acts around certain people. Like even Riker, like he's like, "Oh, Riker wouldn't let me go onto the planet." He says that in this episode.
Well, just think about that episode, cause and effect, that time loop where they died over and over again. Every time Data or Picard did what Data suggested, they died. And then they finally did what Riker suggested and they lived.
Yeah.
So, but it took like 300 attempts for them to actually listen to Riker. And only because Data told Picard he had to listen to Riker. That's
Yeah. Because Data was like, well, maybe I'm actually wrong.
Maybe I'm wrong. And it didn't even occur to Picard that it could be the case, right?
Picard's weird in this scene too, though, because Data's just making a suggestion, and Picard's just like, "It's like you've never made that suggestion before." Like, would he ever answer anybody like that? It's like,
no.
Like, I think we should drop to warp 2, Captain. You've never said we should drop to warp 2 before. Like. Picard sucks in this. Like this
he's a little weak. I agree. Like they are, like plot wise, they are weak. The decisions they make and some of their choices are off.
And Wesley is way too important.
Wesley's way over important here. Like I understand,
but he's the only good Starfleet officer on this bridge.
Yeah, true. But like, why is he
acting
like,
inside?
He's the only one with a clue, and the rest of them are a bunch of dopes. And like, it's
that's
like,
season 1.
Yeah, he's written that way, and I'm like, why is it because of Stand By Me that like Wesley, like Will Wheaton gets this? Like, he's basically, it goes Picard, Data, then kind of Riker, and then Wesley. Like that is kind of like the hierarchy
you
of
could
like
not put Riker above Wesley.
And if it's about looking at something, you got Geordi involved.
So you're saying it's Wesley above Riker? So it's Picard, Data, Wesley. That's kind of how the bridge is operating in season 1,
more or less. This is where Dr. Crush is like,
Shut up, Wesley.
Shut up, Wesley. Oh, I'm sorry, Beverly.
Then she says, "Shut up, Wesley," which means she
Shut
sucks.
up, Wesley.
Like everyone sucks. Why do they all suck so bad? Like, who's writing this episode, and why does he think all the main characters should suck?
Morris Hurley is your answer.
Morris Hurley wrote this episode. Yeah. See, he's from TOS.
I like when Beverly goes, "You're kicking me off the bridge now." Like,
he's like, "I want you to protect the boy." How about that?
He said, "No,
but you know
yes, but no."
But then Picard's like, "Well, maybe I will send a security team after all. Maybe Wesley could be right." So I guess Worf is leading this the security team, and then he runs into Lore, the turbolift. He goes, "Emergency close," and then Worf is trapped in this elevator. With he's like, "Give me your warrior spirit."
Now show me your warrior fierceness.
Show me your warrior.
Now with two punches and he's down.
Yeah, he hits Lore across the face. That does nothing, and then
it's weird though that it's Maurice Hurley though, because he did write for TOS, and it's like
he never wrote for TOS. He wrote for.
He
was like, he became the showrunner in season 2. He was like that guy that Gene Roddenberry liked for some reason, but he had originally come from
he was like his lawyer or something.
No, you're confusing. That's another guy, but like,
Okay.
He becomes the showrunner in season 2. I think because he wrote episodes like this, like with Lore, which was a well-received episode.
It's like what Jeff said though. They didn't write the TSOS crew as dopes.
No, like I think DC Fontana, like not sometimes they do, but not really. You're right. Anyway, so Worf gets. It's kind of amazing to just see how much more powerful these androids are than Worf. and how easily he's put out here.
But the thing is, though, at this point in the series, we don't know how powerful Worf can be.
Well, we know he's a warrior, and we know he's big and tall and strong, like just from his build. But
everybody schools Worf in the early seasons, though. His whole job is just to run up there and get schooled by the villain of the week. He sucks too. Everybody sucks in these early TNG seasons, man.
Oh boy. Anyway, and then at this point, Dr. Crusher walks in with Wesley to look on. He goes, "No, look, it is Data. You can tell because his forehead's broken open." I guess this is what convinces Dr. Crusher.
I think the deductive reasoning is Data would not have done this to Lore.
Right. Because the cut on the forehead does make sense, right?
But Lore would have done this to Data. So I think that's kind of like that made sense to me.
This is also the part where Wesley says, "Just tell me to shut up and I will." And she's like, "You're being very unfair."
I don't think he is.
No, he's not.
Nope.
Right, but he never gets apologized to.
Nope.
At any point.
No. They're still like, "Hey, yeah, sorry about that."
That's like that was the '80s, guys. You never got apologized to, even when they were wrong.
Yeah, children are like scum of the earth.
The closest thing he ever got to an apology was the acting ensign promotion. He was like, "I'm not going to apologize, Wesley. But
I'll promote you."
An acting ensign.
Just forgot about it because
you'll get a better uniform next season.
You won't have to wear it
sit on the bridge, and I'll never listen to a goddamn thing you say.
This is the moment where Davan says, "Data becomes Data."
Yeah,
he
from here on out, the episode's good.
I'll stop Lore. I'll find my way to stop Lore. We see here that Lore is talking to the crystalline entity in the cargo bay. He had told Captain Picard he was going to beam a tree out there or something for them to destroy, whatever. But but then we see here that Beverly, Wesley, and Data come up on Lore with one phaser, by the way. As he's talking to the crystalline entity. I thought they could have called as many security officers as they needed for this. They didn't really.
Data knows though. Like Data is a Data trained in everything. Lore is a Data trained in nothing. Like there's no reason why Lore should be able to beat Data at anything.
Yeah, Lore's been basically deactivated for 26 years, right?
Yeah,
right.
And was never taught anything.
Yeah, he didn't go to Starfleet Academy or anything like that, So
20 years experience in
so
Starfleet.
that comes back to that whole attack on him with Thedacron, right? So attack happened, then somebody disassembled Lore and put him back on the shelf.
Right. Well, Noonien soon get that, but they must have been attacked by the entity, but then the entity left and then came back. I don't know.
It's weird because somebody came. The kids got to draw some pictures.
They at least were attacked enough that they could draw pictures of this thing, and then but
it made sense until the kids' pictures. That screws this whole episode up. Like they didn't.
It feels like if they had left some photos behind, that would have made more sense. Like we took a few pictures before we died. So anyway,
quick, Bobby, sketch this thing. I left my camera at the cottage house.
There's a couple lines here from Lore, where he's really pissed off at Wesley for having figured him all out,
Are you prepared for the kind of death you've earned, little man?
She pulls out her face. You will talk to my guy.
The troublesome little man child.
The troublesome little man child.
No, that should have been my name for the episode. Oh, well.
Then Lore gets the phaser away from Dr. Crusher pretty easily, actually. And then says he will feel exquisite
that was painful
pain.
to watch too.
I will kill Wesley.
I promise him exquisite pain.
I thought what they were going to do was like when they rig the phaser and it kills or disables
backfires.
Backfires. I thought that's good how easily Lore got the phaser. Like he just give me that.
Yeah, exactly. That would have been better.
Yeah, that would have made more sense.
Yeah,
but no, that's not what happened.
She's just the stupid character who comes to give the villain a weapon for no reason. God, there's every bad trope in TV they put into this episode.
Oh, thank you for my human gifts, he says.
That was good stuff.
And then he says, "Oh, here's a little payment for your son's insolence." And then he shoots Dr. Crusher in the arm, setting her.
I like how they light you on fire back in season 1.
Yeah, they light.
She runs away on fire.
Right, but otherwise is okay. It seems like twice only a flesh wound, and then we get this fight here between.
Those doctor coats are flammable. That's all.
But phaser proof a little bit, I guess.
Yeah.
Anyway, this fight here in the cargo bay between the two androids. I don't know.
You know what? Good point, Dave. She comes back in 30 seconds. perfectly fine.
She just takes off the coat.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
They're throwing these barrels at each other. And then it's almost like a wrestling match here where Data does like a fireman's carry on Datalore, throws him into the transporter pad, which, by the way, had strategically had that phaser land right on the pad earlier on in their fight. They went up in the air.
Is there a transporter pad usually like this in the cargo area? Okay.
You know what's
like?
You know what's funny about this scene? This is Data versus Lore, and if you go back to that last image or even the one before it, I'm pretty sure neither of these people are Brent Spiner. Yeah,
like most of this fight, like this is not either Brent Spiner, but like any of these wide shots are.
Yeah, there you can tell it's Lore is not.
Yeah, it's only the close-ups where it's Brent Spiner. Yeah. Anyway, they throw him into the pad. Lore, gets up, picks up the phaser, but Wesley beams him away in the nick of time. Just barely managing to get, I guess, vaporized here by Lore. Now they just beam him into space, where they left him to drift. He'll eventually be found for 2 years later. I guess he had a phaser with him to kind of do whatever. But they just leave him out there. Yeah, they know that androids are not going to die in a vacuum, but
and they know he's evil.
And they know he's
should have attached a warning beacon to it.
Yeah, they should have said, "Fearless security chief running in it just when they need her."
Oh yeah, and then they show up, and I was like, "When did they get filled in?" They don't even know what happened to Lore. Like, do they know he got beamed out? Like, I don't know. It's kind of unclear.
They don't. It's not mentioned.
Picard shows up with this little phaser. I'm not impressed.
And then Picard, because he's nothing like later season, Picard says to Beverly, "Now get back to sick bay immediately for now."
Well, she got shot in the arm.
Wounds,
but she's perfectly fine.
And she's like,
"I'm got a wound in there." She's got like her uniform's all singed.
It's a little singed. And then Crystalline Entity leaves. And then he's like, "Data, are you okay? Then get rid of that damn Twitch and put on a uniform and get out of my sight." He's like, "Okay."
Yeah. Whatever you say, Cap.
Whatever you want. And then the Twitch goes. And then he looks at this is his chance to apologize to Wesley. Doesn't do it. Tells him to go to the bridge.
No, it doesn't do it. Kind of.
What do you think he is, a sissy?
Yeah. Kirk never would have apologized either. So
no, man.
No, but he would have gave you that cool smile where he's like you would have felt good.
We get this like original series moment here where they're like, "Do you think Data is something or other?" I don't remember what the question is. And he goes, I only wish we were so well adjusted, Captain. And he goes, "Agreed." Da, 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 da. Credits. And that's the plot, all broken down. The Engineer of the Week. Okay, Adam, have you looked up any trivia for us?
I got some for you. Yeah,
all right. Well, you were up to
be good.
All right. So, Rob Bowman credited Brent Spiner for making this episode work, as we all agree, guys. Give one example.
Work. I wouldn't use the word work. I said he does his best.
He did the one scene in his own office with Brent sitting down and Laura discussing what it would like to be human. He did it one side, was shot through a double, and then turned around and read the other way as the other half. These two characters of the scene are very different people, and he really painted those characters differently. And we all agree on that.
We all agree on that, yeah.
According to Will Wheaton, the stand-in actor used in this episode really irritated Brent Spiner and was never used again. He described the stand-in.
You're better than me.
That's right. He described the stand-in as looking like a breakdancer doing the robot whenever he had to portray Data or Lore, and said that I think that guy was really into playing an android, and his enthusiasm got cranked up even more to 11. And by the end of the week, pretty much everyone wanted to deactivate it and sell him to a nearest Chawa. Good old Will Wheaton.
Shut
up, Will Wheaton. No.
Yeah.
Shut up, Wesley.
This is the final episode written by Gene Roddenberry before his death. I guess edited by Gene Roddenberry.
He is on the teleplay. Okay.
Yeah. Data's creator, his name is Noonien Soon, similar to Khan Union Singh. Gene Roddenberry actually used these names in hopes of contacting a World War II buddy with a similar name with whom he had lost contact.
Didn't work?
I don't know. Yeah. Okay, I'm going to tell you Biff Yeager, and I said Biff. reprised his role as Chief Engineer Argyle from Where No Man Has Gone Before.
Biff's a real name?
Biff, yeah. This made him the only chief engineer to be seen twice during the season.
Well, I guess
because there was a lady there for a while too.
Right, she was in a couple of the episodes. The one where they all get in the naked now.
Yeah. The line "Shut up, Wesley," Dave.
Oh, Jesus!
Shut up, Wesley.
Spoken by both Dr. Crusher and Captain Picard, has become a popular catchphrase for fans to express frustration with Wesley Crusher.
Shut up, Wesley.
Data's quarters are seen for the first time in this episode, and the design changes significantly in later episodes.
Yeah.
Executive producer Maurice Hurley was pleased with the outcome of this episode, saying the sets, the design, and the look of the show is brilliant.
But what about the plot, Maurice?
I thought it was may have been the best looking show of the first season. However, he felt the characterizations weren't quite right. This is the same opinion put forward by Brent Spiner, who thought Data's actions were not in line with the expectations of the character.
Data's not the one that bothers me as much, it's really Riker and Picard and some of their decisions towards the end there. So they should see it and they don't.
While popular with fans, the line "Shut up, Wesley"
Shut up, Wesley.
is not appreciated by Will Wheaton. In fact, he's repeatedly asked his fan to stop using it because he finds it degrading.
Well, he can shut up.
Shut up, Wesley.
Hot take.
Shut up, Will. Okay. The crystalline entity was originally created using CGI, a fairly uncommon technique at that time, especially for
That's
a TV
CGI. Okay, so
Yeah.
it's not a model.
When it came to remaster the first season in 2012, there was no original elements of the entity available, as it never existed on film, and the original computer files were long since lost. The entity had to be recreated from scratch, and resulting in the reconstruction appearing notably different in shape, color, and texture.
So I wonder if what we all watched is not really quite what they saw. In
It wouldn't be.
87.
Yeah, we would have seen.
I think I remember it being more white, if I
White?
remember.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because I don't remember watching this back in. Well, I guess I
When
would have
you-
watched it in syndication, but
I assumed you guys watched the remaster for Encounter at Farpoint.
Whatever's on Netflix, I don't know.
Yeah, it'd probably be the remaster. Go back and watch what those jellyfish things look like when they're not remastered. It's shocking.
doesn't sound exciting.
Okay. Worf accompanies the away team down to the planet's surface through their exploration of Dr. Soon's lab, he has no speaking lines during the entire sequence. He does not say anything until 21 minutes into the episode.
Who doesn't?
Worf.
Worf doesn't say anything? Oh, okay. And then eventually, okay, well, Michael, one of your lines will be, oh.
Who wasn't in this episode?
Deanna.
Deanna was in there.
Counselor Troy does not appear in this episode.
Where was she?
I don't know what she was doing.
She was
watching a football match.
Or she was hanging out with the boy that went to the ship last week or whatever.
Jay Gordon.
Jay Gordon.
It is a betazoid trait. I'll try to be only half as annoying.
Edits were still being made to the script during filming, and as the writers wanted to introduce new element to Data, in order to further distinguish him from Lore, the inability to use contractions, Data had used contractions during earlier episodes. And Brent Spiner refused to shoot the scene until a final decision was reached. Production stopped while there was a meeting on the subject between Gene Roddenberry, the producers, and the writers. In the middle of the bridge set, ironically, Data uses the contraction at the end of the episode where he tells Captain Picard, "I'm fine."
Everything about this episode is so not tight.
Well, I say can't or isn't, and you say cannot and is not.
Right. Brent Spiner suggested that Laura be made Data's evil twin. Initially, Laura was neither to be evil nor a lookalike of Data. In fact, Laura was first created to be as a female with the intention of being a potential love interest for Data.
Interesting. His sister would be his love interest.
Weird.
That is weird. And I think I'll wrap it up there, Dave, because those
Okay,
yeah.
those were good. Those were good, Adam. Thank you for that. Okay, we'll move into our episode ratings, and I'm curious to see what Davan will give this. So, but I'm going at 8. Actually, I think it's okay. I think that this episode is. I like Lore as a character more than anything, and I think his introduction.
I'll take 8 as well, Dave.
I think 8 from Adam. Jeff.
6.8.
6.8 from Jeff. Heather not here tonight, and Davan.
Like a. Let me see where I'm at here. Give the battle a 5. Hide and Q a 6. And Big Goodbye gave a 6. Okay, Datalore's a 5.
You like the Big Goodbye more?
Oh yeah.
All right. Well, we're averaging a 7 out of 10 tonight, so decent. And this is a 7.6 IMDb rating, so it's actually one of the higher rated episodes of season 1.
Because Lore's in it.
It's because Lore, same reason, I think we like it, or those of us who do like it. And that's that. I think that's, I think we've said everything we can about this episode. Coming up on the next episode, we have Angel 1.
Oh boy.
Which is an episode I always forget what the hell it is.
It's the one with the ladies. That's a planet of ladies and really tiny men.
The Enterprise arrives at a planet Angel 1, which is ruled by an oligarchy of women. Oh, okay. Well, to talk to me about that one, a panel next week will be Jaemeel, Jane, and Heather. So look
at the perfect panel for that episode.
So that's what we're bringing in. Check that out in 1 week's time to talk about Angel 1. Any further comments here tonight about Datalore?
Yeah, Davan. Remember, we did debate 9.
Yeah, we did. That was fun.
Do you have a debate 9 coming up?
No.
Oh.
What are you talking about, Adam?
I don't know.
No, there's no DB9 coming up. There's a Treckle Trunk coming up where we're gonna. I don't have it here. It must be upstairs. But Jaemeel and Heather and I are gonna review that complete illustrated oral history book. The one that confused you so much with its title.
I'm still trying to figure out what an illustrated oral history is, but yes.
Yeah, it's actually, I started reading it. It's just like snippets from the old Star Trek magazine, and so it's all like interview snippets kind of thing. So it's all just quotes from people. So,
well, what's the oral part?
That because it's all quotes from people. It's all just people's telling you stories about what it was like.
Okay. Well, and you're coming Friday. You said you're doing that.
The next Friday, I think. Either the 21st or the 22nd, whatever day that is.
Gotcha. Coming up in a week's time. Okay, or so. Of course, check out Monday nights. We have our Orville episode reviews. We talked about New Dimensions last night, the 2-dimensional one. It's kind of a cool one to talk about. Look out for that. We have one more episode in the season 1, and then we're moving on to season 2, if you can believe it. Already. So
I can't believe it.
Yeah, it's happening. Our condolences to Chris Murphy and his feline who passed away.
No, I didn't hear that. Talia?
Yeah.
No.
22 years old, I believe.
Yeah, I know Talia. Oh,
yeah,
man.
Yes. So send some love to Chris Murphy for his feline friend. And I'm sorry to end on a down note, I suppose, with all that, but wanted to acknowledge that. I think we'll sign off for the night. Make sure to check out all the great shows here on the United Federation of Podcasts, which you'll hear all about in our outro here. And on that note, we'll say goodnight. I think I think I pulled something here. It's got to be something good. Oh, we'll go with this. See you next time, everyone. Live long and podcast. Thanks to Jeff, Adam, and Davian.
Dr. Sung made me perfect in his first attempt, but he made me so completely human, the colonists became envious of me. You lived with the colonists until they petitioned Sung to make a more comfortable, less perfect android. In other words, you brother.
See you, brother.
Beam up some Star Trek content with Live Long and Podcast. Tune in to X-Rated, the X-Men animated review show. Artistic interviews with graphic histories. A roundtable movie discussion with Hey, did you see this one? And movie reviews with Hold Up, a movie podcast. And while you're at it, spin a few records with Eamon on Track. Watch us duke it out on trivial debates. And let's chat about TV with the Super Mater Brothers. It's all here on the United Federation of Podcasts.